Call the meeting to order. All those that can stand, please do so with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry. A roll call.
All board members are present and on time.
Oh, yeah.
We did it.
Physically here. All right, first item is the approval of the agenda. There's a couple of things that I'd like to add. Maybe we'll reverse these here. First one will be item 9K, that's resolution 22-20 to amend Oakland County Sheriff's 2022 to 2024 law enforcement services agreement. And with that Charter Township of Highland. And that's to add the additional officer that the chief has put in the budget. Lieutenant. He's chief of our police department, our sheriff's department. See, there we go. And the next item.
Sorry.
We kind of have a conundrum. We introduced Nick George as I introduced Nick George as our next chief. We put him through a process of elimination to when he applied for the job, and he was selected as the person that we would like to promote to the position of chief when the time comes. And the thing is, the time should come on I think on the 1st. So I'd like to add 9I. The last one was 9K. 9I would be to approve the promotion of Nick George to fire chief as of 1/1/23.
L, it's L.
You have
AKLHI. Wait a second here. You already have a
We have a
J.
J, K.
K is resolution 2020.
So L,
L, I don't know. See, I told you. Good job.
all right. Read it one more time.
To approve the promotion of Nick George to fire chief as of 1/1/2023. Okay, so those are the two items.
I have a question.
Yes,
Can we go into closed session?
I don't,
not for that topic.
not for that.
Okay.
It would have to be one of the 6 legal topics for closed sessions, and that doesn't fall under any of them, to my knowledge.
I thought employee issues were one of them.
Only if it's
A
some
review.
type of
Like a grievance.
grievance or,
Okay.
spanking, whatever. It's something we have to talk about, and
Okay.
we need to be transparent on it, and that's what we gotta move forward on.
So this is discussion,
Yeah, there'll be discussion.
Was there a motion? to
but you're
accept
asking for an approval, right?
He's asking to put it on the agenda.
It's on the
it?
agenda,
Just need to get on the agenda.
I'm just trying to understand what you're asking for.
an agenda item.
Okay, that works.
All right, can I get a motion to approve?
I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support Sylvia.
Okay, vote please.
Mr. Howe,
Yeah, Mr. Al votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is the consent agenda approval. Can I get a motion to approve?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support anyone?
Support Lewis.
Okay, support Lewis. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia,
Lewis,
yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Al votes yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right, announcements and information. The township offices will be closed on November 24th and 25th in observance of Thanksgiving holiday. The DDA is having ladies' night out?
Yep,
The DDA is having ladies' night out on November 15th. Anything on time on that?
it's tomorrow and it's 4 PM till 7 PM. And we meet at the 205 West Livingston, the Art Council.
So we're
And the-
not using the township hall this year.
No, not for that one.
Okay.
For Chris Greenville, yes.
Okay.
And then we'll have swag bags and vendors.
Swag bags.
Is that what they're called?
Swaggers.
And vendors, and then WODA has volunteered to take the ladies out to the different stores.
Are they dressing up as elves?
They can, we did not prevent them from doing that.
They've been known to do that.
All right, the next item is Small Business Saturday.
And that's Oakland County and DDA is promoting it
That'll
too.
be November 26th, 2022. The Festival of Trees is from December 1st through the 31st. There's applications for purchasing the trees.
Yep, at the township or online at the Highland DDA Downtown Development Authority website.
And then the Chris Kringle Market and Tree Lighting will be December 5th, 2022. And that will be at the Fire Hall,
The old fire hall that the town hall is in, yes.
250 West Livingston. And we're gonna do the inside thing like we did last year. That should be pretty cool. It was fun last year, so. All right, at this time, there's public comment. Anybody have any public comment?
I do. I would like to congratulate one of my staff members, Chantel Green. She got her Michigan Certified Professional Treasurer from MMTA, Michigan Municipal Treasurer Association. It took her 3 years to do it.
Training, yep.
Yeah, so that was, yeah, basic. It was a lot of work, so, and I'm very lucky to have both of my staff members.
Good job.
The
Judy trained them
township's
well.
lucky, so. We've got a good staff all the way around, and that's just an added bonus.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a huge commitment.
Yes, it is.
Good.
Here, Chantel. You're out there, Chantel.
There she is. No.
She'll watch it later.
Okay, any other public comment? Joe?
I'd like to thank the VFW and the Huron Valley Ambulance for supporting the honors at the Township Memorial. It was very, the WODA folks came, so it gave us some semblance of participants, but beyond that, there was virtually no one else there, so. It's sad to know that we have a day that we should be recognizing, and we can't get our citizens out for an hour or a half hour to pay their respects. So I'm very disappointed in that, but people have their rights to do what they want to do. So our township offices were closed, and I thought maybe I'd see some of our people that work in the township there, but so that's it. Our honors team and the color guard, tomorrow we will finish 22 veteran recognition ceremonies. We will finish at Lakeland High School, thanks to Brian launching that, White Lake Middle School and Independence Village. We honor and find the veterans that are lost in senior homes. They can't, they're not visible anymore. Nobody knows they even exist. So we go in there and light them up with laughter, humor, and visibility of uniforms. So it's a big deal for folks who are lost. And if we forget our men and women who serve our country, that includes our first responders, we're in trouble. So that's my happy words for today. Thank you.
All right,
We're honored to be the 22nd and final one this time, since we were the first one originally, so it's kind of cool. We're kind of back around. So we'll be ready for you.
all right, any other public comment?
I just want to thank everyone for the support for the election. It was a record-setting election in some ways, and we got through it. There's always some minor little things that kind of make it a little more complicated than it needs to be, but we got through it and appreciate everybody's support.
Good job.
All right, we'll move on. The next item is public hearing for the 2023 Highland Township budget. I'll just, on your table there, you'll find a copy of the budget. And just for general knowledge on your part, on the board members' parts, you'll see, sorry about the yellow highlighting, but
It's,
I only had a yellow highlighter. You'll see highlighted items. Those items were ones that are different than the last budget you looked at. And they're all in the amended column. The budget itself proposed for 2023 didn't change. And I'll add that we also included on page 2, you'll see a new line. There's 2 lines that say revenue without appropriation for fund balance and revenue with appropriation from fund balance. So Judy Cooper was,
So you can blame me, that's all
I'm
right.
blaming her big time for creating this, but it's to help have clarity about when you move money into from the fund balance into the budget. It's not really revenue. And so if you do the math in a certain way, it doesn't, depends on how you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But anyways, this was Tammy came up with this and put it together today, so it's a new. So is there anything you want to do say about that?
We just keep trying to find ways to make it really clear what's happening, and if
Yeah.
this,
So it's not
if
money,
this,
it's clear.
yeah.
I think that's really good, Tammy,
If
yeah.
it's-
So did
if
we
this
just do-
works great, if we come up with a new idea next year, that's great too.
So we only did it for general?
No, it's
No, it's all
all,
through.
any account where we would use fund balance,
I
It's
didn't
in
see
there.
any of them.
which is,
Maybe
You just spent through.
I just saw the general.
right, so we don't use it for road,
Okay,
fire fund is there,
okay, maybe that's,
page
Yeah,
9.
look, page 9.
I must have a different copy. Oh, it's just not highlighted like the other one was. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, Then please,
That's what I was
you
looking
can see on page 11.
Gotcha. I was looking for highlighted.
No, that's,
This was last minute.
That's fine.
and it was a great. so we-
No, I'm not
Thank
trying
you.
to complain at all.
It's her fault.
You walked in,
No,
he's
it's
like,
good. I
"Thank
think
you
if
for
you,
causing
if
a
we
little
look
ruckus
back
there."
over the years on doing these budgets, there's been a lot of improvements to the way we present it and for clarity. And I think that's I've seen other townships do budgets and they're not really as clear as this one is. So
A lot of work.
if you guys have any questions, I think what we'll do now, this is just for your information, but we're gonna begin the public hearing. And we're gonna begin that at 6:44. Now, it's the public's turn. If there's anybody out there who wants to make a comment about the budget. The budget was in the package. So if you're on Zoom, you should have been able to download the budget.
How many
And
people do
you'll
we
see
have
it.
on Zoom tonight?
What's
How
that?
many folks do we have on Zoom?
I don't know. Let's see.
It looks like. 6
1,
here,
2, 3, 4, 5.
5 to 7.
7, okay.
I'm on there twice, so. I'm loading it up. I don't get 2 votes, so. So if there's no public comment, then we'll put an end to that. I don't see anything. So the end time is 6:44.5. Call 6:45. All right, so that part was easy. Next one is community development block grant funds for 2023.
And again, this is a public hearing for the public to speak.
Yep, not for comments from us.
We're choosing right now, I'm suggesting we do a senior center septic system replacement at the 205 West Livingston. And then, because that's our senior center annex, so more than 51% of the building is dedicated to seniors. And then we can pay for half the cost of the septic there. And that's $20,231.
The old library, right?
Yeah, yeah, the art council. We're gonna have to name that soon.
Name that tune.
Need that soon. Services for victim of domestic violence, which we donate to Haven, $4,335. And then senior services, which we donate to Meals on Wheels, $4,335. We normally do WODA, but the minimum you can do is 3,500, so I couldn't do 3 services. So,
And on that, just for the
clarification.
clarification on the WODA thing, there was anticipation that the millage would pass. And if it passed, then there's no reason to not put that towards other services.
It did,
It did.
Oakland County Transportation did,
Okay.
Overall, over the countywide, it did. It did not pass in Highland.
and we have to get it on our tax bills. Before we send them.
Okay, so any public comment on the
So
use
we're
of the
beginning-
funds?
We're beginning public.
6:45.
7,
6:47, whatever.
okay. All right,
There we go. Okay, no comments. No comments.
right.
All right. We're gonna end the public comment. 6:48. That's what you call formality. You have to keep up with that formality. All right, so we'll move on to item number 9, new business. And the first item is budget amendment for building department and election reimbursement, and in the packet, you'll find 3 different, the next 3 items.
Oh,
Go ahead.
nothing, no, it's me.
So the first item, the budget amendments for building there for to increase revenues for permits and increase expenses for building inspectors where the net effect is 0. And then the next item is increase revenues expenses for elections to be reimbursed where the net effect is 0. So can we get a motion?
I would move to approve the budget amendment for building as presented.
Support? No.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion? All right, vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yeah.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis. Lewis, yes. Mr. Howe,
Mr. Hall votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right, the next item is a budget amendment for fire operations. This is to appropriate funds for fire operations where the payments shall be taken from the general fund surplus resulting from the ARPA grant. So you can see that this for payroll, and other expenditures.
And this is for 2022.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Right.
Fine.
It's page, it's very strange. It's page 54. I couldn't find it either. It was,
And this one, go to.
oh, it won't do the arrow or the.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Judy, you want to look at it from here?
No, I've got it.
Okay.
Thank you. I would move to approve the budget amendment for the ARPA transfer of $250,000 from general to fire as presented.
Support? No.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion? All right, vote please.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis. Lewis, yes. Mr. Howe,
Mr. Hall votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yeah.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, The next item is budget amendment for fire capital for fire station number 2. This is to appropriate funds towards fire capital expenses to provide for possible overages in 2022.
It would move to approve the budget amendment for fire capital as presented.
Support Lewis.
They moved and supported, discussion. All right, vote please.
Mr. Savia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yeah.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is a motion to approve the 2023 Highland Township budget.
Oh, and that's right.
I would move to approve the 2023 Highland Township budget as presented.
Support Salvia.
Moved and supported, discussion, anybody?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course. WODA, since the transportation millage passed, do we need to take that 185,000 out of the budget?
Not at this point in time. I think we'll
Just
leave
because
it
of
in
the
there.
projection?
Yeah, because of what's gonna happen is they're gonna move forward but there won't be any resources until probably February.
Okay,
And if we have to spend any of that money, then WODA will refund it,
so we'd be reimbursed.
reimbursed, yeah,
Okay, I'm good with that.
so.
I just want to say, as always, great job. I mean, I go back, the first time we ever did this, we went through line by line. It was a long night, but we learned so much, and it sure makes a lot of sense now. So I'm glad we did it that way back, and you guys, Rick, you guys, and everybody down in the office does a great job.
Well, thank you.
Well done. Proud to say that our budget always is,
Right on.
not just Rick, everybody in the office.
Teammates.
Please don't, yeah, the whole
Yep.
team. It's just a real, very proud of what we do and the way we do it. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, any other discussion? And we'll vote, please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Sure, how votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Yes,
motion carries.
okay, the next item is resolution 2215. Let's see if I can so 2023 General Appropriations Act. And yes, I don't work that way.
On page 73, if that helps.
I'll bring it up over here. Share the screen and we'll do it. Okay, so there's the General Appropriations Act and the TV bit behind you if you can't see it. So this is the time when we declare what our operating millage, general operating millage is, the fire operating millage, fire capital millage, police operating millage, and the library operating millage.
I would move to approve resolution 22-15, the 2022 General Appropriations Act.
Support Lewis.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on that? I think.
And this is for 2023?
No, it's
No.
for, I was thinking.
Because of
that
the
while I was
fire
reading.
millage, because we start collecting the fire millage in December.
It's because you're levying it now,
Okay,
so it's for now.
okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to add? Okay, this is just ours, so we don't need to add the Oakland County Transportation.
So,
No,
No,
Okay.
this is what we're levying.
Okay, all right.
right,
Just a
and then
couple
I
questions.
just noticed in the header, it should say 2023 General Appropriations Act.
Okay.
Should it? That's what we were
Yeah.
talking about.
And
so we
then,
need to correct
And you
that.
got that on the
Because
agenda?
we're collecting for that budget. Is
For
that why it's
2020.
2023?
Yes,
yeah,
Okay,
So we approved the budget and then the millages that go with that support it for 23.
Yeah. okay.
So now,
Tim.
does that change anything for the fire?
Shouldn't.
Cause we start collecting in December,
No,
but that
no,
for
this is,
20,
this is approving,
24. Okay,
approving what we're collecting now for next year's budget.
gotcha. December 1st through
Crazy
February.
across the year thing.
All right, so, did you move to?
Yeah.
somebody Move to approve, do we have?
Yeah.
support? I asked for discussion, we got it, so, vote please.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
This next item, resolution 22-16 to opt out of PA 152 of 2011.
I don't even know why that's.
10
on
years
the
I've been doing this thing and I still get confused. Why are we doing this? This is who can describe this?
I can.
Judy?
If I remember correctly, this is to opt out of the employees paying 50% of their medical.
Yeah, the state said they really wanted locals to charge their employees, certain, was it 50 or 20?
20. It was-
And then
It felt like 50.
we don't charge everybody 20%. Basically, we had said anybody that's new after 2016, they pay 20%. The people hired prior to that are grandfathered in. So that's why we have to pass this, because not all of our employees are paying 20%.
Okay.
Okay,
Will I remember this next year?
I'm like, oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna
this
make a
is the
point of
health
it. I'm gonna
insurance.
put it in there. So, all right, a motion to approve that.
I would move to approve resolution 22-16 to opt out of the provisions of Public Act 152 of 2011.
Support.
Support Salvia.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item is resolution 22-17. It's a performance resolution for Michigan Department of Transportation. We do this every year as well, and this allows us to put signage and do other things within the MDOT right away.
Right.
So that's how we can put the signs up that we put up.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. We just have to do it every year, so.
I would move to approve resolution 22-17, the performance resolution for the Michigan Department of Transportation.
Support Howell.
Moved and supported, vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item is resolution 22-18, Community Development Block Grant Funds, also known as CDBG funds. 2023 application.
I would move to approve resolution 22-18, approving the 2023 Community Development Block Grant application.
Support Howell.
Moved and supported. Anybody have any questions on that? We kind of went over it for the public.
Right, and then we do have, on page, it looks like 83 is what we're allocated. And then on 84 is the uses we could use them, if you guys ever, wanted to change what we use them on.
I like your choices.
So Highlands
You
allocation,
get about
We get
28,000.
28.
all right there. Okay.
This is
901.
the 3. And then down.
And that's
here.
just an estimate.
How do we get, my question, how do we get, what determines that number?
So there's a formula. So Oakland County is actually the main applier to HUD, and we're all of its
Okay.
children.
Yeah.
Is it by the size of our population?
there's different things. So if you look at here, I think Milford gets a very small amount, maybe like 3,000. Milford, oh no, Milford gets 16. Township, where's the village? Village gets 15. There's a small one in here. But yeah, it must be populated. 7,000 looks like the smallest, and it's Bloomfield Hills, Clarkston,
Those are villages,
and Franklin.
Gotcha.
because they're little.
Mhm.
Rose is 9,000.
Ortonville gets 8, so it must
Okay.
be population, and they have the formula for that.
All right.
And then they say this is a suggested amount and we apply for this amount, but it always gets changed by $1,000 or $2,000 by the time we're done. But I don't bring that back, because we're just kind of solidifying it.
And then there's, the next page is a list of projects that you can apply for
Yes.
or use it in.
Acquisition and disposition of land, public facilities improvements, and that's what we do usually on the senior center. Because that's a
Didn't we
certain,
use this one year for the part of the Clyde Road?
not this, we
Oh,
used
you
our
said
Tri-county.
tri-count, yeah, tri-party funds.
Tri-party, yeah.
And in public services, you can only do 30% of the whole $28,000. That's why we do the amounts we do. And then there's housing, economic development, general administration.
Okay, thanks.
So if you guys ever want something different, you just have to. That was the only discussion I
I like
had.
that.
Okay,
We
vote, do we vote on that?
we did not vote.
Okay, so we need to vote.
You ready to vote? Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Charles votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Oh, it wouldn't touch it.
Okay, the next item, resolution 22-19 is request for charitable gaming license for You Can Survive, which is a charitable foundation formed by the LaFontaine family and team. And I think this is the least we can do is to help them promote that.
I would move to approve resolution 22-19, the charitable gaming license for You Can Survive.
Support Lewis.
If you're moved and supported, vote please.
Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Charles votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Oh, yeah, something slipped in there.
It did.
Okay, the next item is to add 3 fire department positions.
And this is identified in the proposed budget already.
So, what he's actually asking, and I'm not sure it really comes through, is that he would like to proceed with interviews and making selections and have the new staff start January 1st without us having a meeting to approve the employees. And, we won't be able to approve them until after that January 1st start date. So, I mean, we can decide that we want them to wait until after our January board meeting, if we want to review the names and everything, but in his perfect world, they would start January 1st.
Do we have enough confidence in him to do the interviews for the people he would need to take? I don't know why I need to look at resumes if we have a person that is skilled in choosing the right candidates.
I think he's done a pretty good job of picking
I was
people.
gonna say their interview process is amazing.
The employees that are, we're gonna post it internally, the employees are very all.
Oh.
Been moving up from being or part-time being a call up.
So I'm not sure how we want to word the motion, but I think we need to state that it should allow the fire chief to select and hire his,
Or promote.
or,
Go ahead, make that motion.
I'm the writer, not the speaker.
I would move to approve the addition of 3 fire department positions, full-time positions and authorize the fire chief and their committee to interview and evaluate candidates and hire them so that they're ready to go January 1st. Did that say it all?
Yes, at
Support.
the rates
At the rates of,
as mentioned in the memo.
that
Yes.
works.
It's 2101 and 2048 per hour.
So we're hiring,
Hiring 3.
which,
Um,
what are we hiring, Nick? Are we hiring one paramedic or 2 paramedics or?
There's 3 paramedics we can, right now, currently in the roster, we have 2 that are paramedics and 1 more that's testing.
Okay, so the goal is to have full paramedics.
So like, the goal of that paramedic was, shortage of paramedics,
Okay,
you know, as people, every multiple, pretty much every time, you know, and sort of being that personnel crossing the states.
right,
So we also have a good pool that are already in that school.
awesome.
So the point of the posting is to be able to put it in there for any current medics or anybody that's gonna take their license in 2 year period.
Okay.
So that way, just in case the ones that are already medics don't fly, or if they don't, you know, refuse not to go with those that route, we have more options than just the ones that are.
Thank you.
And I think he mentioned that if you end up selecting someone who's in the process of getting their license, they'll start at a sub
Lower.
rate until they do that. Right.
Yeah,
But they'll go ahead and be full-time.
they'll be full time, and there'll also be a clause in there that if you do not obtain the license by the 2 year period, they'll either drop down back on with that part time given all that is or.
Right.
Separate.
I like it.
Okay, with all that, I'm not sure we had a second.
I did.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, any discussion on that? Further discussion? It's a vote then.
All right, Mrs. Lewis? Lewis, yes. Mr. Howe?
All votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick?
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia?
Sylvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel?
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next item is resolution 22-20. Which is not going to show up on the screen here because we added it. And that is the resolution to amend Oakland County Sheriff's. I'll just make the motion because I'm going to read it. I'd like to move to approve resolution 22-20 to amend Oakland County Sheriff's Office 2022-24 Law Enforcement Services Agreement with the Charter Township of Highland to add 1 employee, 1 deputy.
Cooper support.
Okay, anybody have any questions? No? Then vote please.
Mr. Howe?
All votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick?
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia?
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis? Lewis, yes. Mr. Hamel?
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. The next item is the one where I added approval of Nicholas George as the fire chief beginning 1/1/2023. So in order to do this correctly, I'll make the motion to approve Nicholas George as fire chief. Promote Nicholas George to fire chief as of 1/1/2023 at an annual salary of $80,575.89.
Can you say it again?
$80,575.89. So we'll need a support.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, I'm sleeping.
Okay, so now we'll do discussion.
Yeah, I think that I'm already.
This-
I want to support it.
What's that? Okay, so this is kind of it's an uncomfortable thing, but I think this is what has to happen in public, and that's that our current chief took the opportunity to go after a new position in Wixom, Michigan, and he had given us a letter of resignation, and then in the process, we had determined that what we should be, when he figured he was going to have the job, we put out, the recommendation was to hire from within. So when he left, we would have a fire chief that was hired from within. So we put out requests for candidates. We got 2 candidates. Jennifer, Brian, and myself, and the chief, Ken, interviewed, and we did an analysis that made the choice Nick George. And then at a meeting a few months ago, a couple of months ago, I announced that we had made that choice, and I really was kind of a little bit out of place because we didn't verify it as a board. We just, here's our new chief kind of thing, and I don't know if everybody else kind of thought the same thing, but then the spinal column comes out, new fire chief hired. And it's like, yikes.
That wasn't my understanding at all. But go ahead.
So anyways, what's happened is that the chief has made it clear that current chief is intending on moving on. Now, we made the allowance for him to stay on as the chief, and had gotten firefighters engaged, and Nick was under the belief that he would become fire chief. And the problem is that we have Ken, who could leave any day. And if we don't make the decision to make that move, then we won't know. We may lose Nick as a candidate because he may decide to move on or get other opportunities. We've got firefighters that are kind of wondering, what direction are we heading here? It's kind of an in limbo scenario. So it's very uncomfortable, not just for the firefighters that are waiting to see what happens, but also for Ken and also for Nick. And I think we need to step up and move it forward, and which is pretty much a statement to Ken that you need to take that opportunity and be shopping. But we also need to look at it from the standpoint that as of the first of the year, we should put, this is my opinion, we should put Nick in as the new fire chief. We'll have to do some kind of conversation to figure out how do we deal with the current chief. It's like I said, it's a conundrum. He's going to have to make some decisions. And I think in order to be the best for the whole department, we need to move forward. And I've had the conversations with Ken, conversations with Nick, how do we move this forward? The biggest problem is that there isn't any allowance in the budget for an additional person, so to speak. Well, he's already employed. So it'd be a raise of $11,732, or a total cost of about $16,106 to move him up to chief. That would be the additional cost to do that. Now, by hiring 3 additional employees, we're still going to be 1 short, because 1 would be to replace Nick.
Oh.
And because the way the union works, you need to move somebody up. So there'll be but my conversation with Nick over this is that 4th employee might have to wait until the resources are there to cover that. So that would be the way that you would buffer that position.
What's the status of the current chief then, as of this transition?
We would have to find a different type of
He's staying-
position.
he's staying in a position for some unlimited.
We're gonna have to have that conversation as we move on as a board, what do you tell the chief?
So at that point in time, when that decision made, our new chief takes command.
He takes command.
Control, okay. All right. And
And
then-
So,
just
and
the
the
chief with-
contract doesn't allow us to add any additional administrative positions within the fire department.
Under the
The
union.
union contract?
Right, there, it's designated, we have a fire chief, we have an assistant fire chief. We have a potential opening for a, you know, an administrative assistant, but the contract doesn't let us just say, okay, we're gonna have another new person in administration.
Is there a slot he could fill at a reduced rate? I'm just throwing out, wow,
I don't know, that's what we gotta discuss,
that's a nice discussion.
right? It's part of this. The process, you know, how do we move this forward? It's very unfair to, I mean, how many months ago did we do this? Interview.
Several months.
Wasn't it
All the
like
interview and everything, all the posting.
It was like August.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, and Nick is trying to get his family situation figured out, which, you know, it's a change for him and he was excited about having the opportunity, so I think this is one of those where it's not. When Ken first came on board, his first presentation was, I plan on being here for 5 years.
Yeah, I felt that it was gonna be a long term.
And year 6, he was ready to go to Wixom, and he would have been gone. But through some fluke, they made a decision to not hire him, and suddenly all of the things that he thought, he had the ball and roll, in motion, he set the whole thing up to have the interviews, you know. And when that failed, it's not the other firefighters' fault or Nick's fault, it's Ken's position. He put himself in a peril position. Now, the thing that he's trying to accomplish is he has a wife and kid that he wants to keep his child in Huron Valley Schools and in Highland.
This is
Or other communities, they sometimes require you to live in the community. Wixom would have let him live in Highland and drive to Wixom. So it's a matter of him being on the scout.
What
for the
other
position.
opportunities has he looked at besides Wixom since we last heard about the fact that Wixom was rejected?
No idea.
I don't think anybody else has any openings.
Well, I was just saying, Wixom was his pursuit because, you know, there's an end game here that is not being fulfilled.
So
Well,
if we were to approve this, then by January first, we'd have to, if the current fire chief did not move on, we would have to determine what to do.
Correct.
Is the situation such that the new fire chief must be, his pay must be increased to cover that versus Ken's?
Say that again.
Well,
Can you keep him at the same pay?
yes, you're currently at a certain rate and a certain function, right? Is your anticipation that that was supposed to happen at that point in time?
They would move up on it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to sort that out a little bit.
Right,
I can help with any questions of putting in positions where they could go, how they work with them.
I mean, Ken, if we make this transition, is Ken willing to step down and pay to assume the position that,
I'm pretty sure he would. I mean, that,
I'm just saying, if he's ready. You're moving up from a slot. If we're gonna give him the slot as chief, Ken wants to stay on until he finds another home. He moves into a lower paying slot.
I don't know.
I'm just throwing out
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think that,
There's no other room. We can't add another chief. We're not gonna have 2 chiefs.
no,
Okay, so.
it'd be the board's prerogative to continue to pay him until he finds another job and give him what. And I think the thing that we need to do is say, here's your timeline.
Somewhere along the way, there has to be a
There's
time.
gotta be a cutoff point, a time, we've been through the process. It's scrambled up, you didn't get your job. We know that you're looking for a job, he's been looking for something to move on to. He's gonna continue to look for something to move on to, so we have to anticipate he
So
could move any day, so I don't wanna be stuck.
In the current org chart, we
Yeah,
have a slot for a chief, and his slot would be open. Right, is that correct?
He has somebody who would move into his position.
We had all our, like, the three firefighter medics that we have right now, one of them would be up for the.
Could,
Yeah, a little
would that be detained if we put chief into it for a temporary portion? If we said, chief, you got 90 days, then you're out. I don't know, I'm just looking for an option here. We don't
Right.
want to hurt the guys you promised a slot to, right?
You make it
You promised if
right?
you,
I don't know that we
Moving
could,
into, I mean, that would be moving into 20 hours. Maybe moving him actually into the union.
yeah, he's not.
Right now,
union.
pretty much
oh,
not in the union.
these are things I'm not aware of.
Right, no, they're
I mean,
good
that would
questions.
be the thing.
Okay.
Is that we'd be moving him into the union position.
And you
Do
out of.
that,
So if he chose to do that, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
you know, put him back in 24-hour shifts and.
Well, it's either that or he has no job. I mean,
Gave him all of them.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk right now.
We'll entertain, I will entertain the question. or-
I'm just, I guess I'm confused on why are you guys trying to find a job?
We're not, and that's kind of what I'm getting at.
I mean, if Nick's gonna be promoted, why Nick should be promoted and chief should be, thanks for all you've done and, you know, here's the new chief. I guess I don't understand why.
your comments taken, this, we're just having a, where are we, is my concern.
Yeah,
Where
no, I
exactly?
mean, I get it. I'm just, I guess if I was sitting over there, I would be like, this is our new chief. You know, January 1st, you're not employed. I mean, I'm not gonna put you into a captain's position, to take this spot. Because you,
Understand.
I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
Well, that's kind of where I'm going with, we need to make a decision, and this can't go on forever.
Correct.
Okay, so,
And right now, I'm not expecting to make a decision on what to do with the chief tonight. Because I think we need to have some things down on paper that we can agree to, but it needs to be done by the first of the year.
what are we waiting for then?
What were you-
If the chief has to go find a new position, Ken, the longer we just wait to give him a decision, the harder it's gonna be for him to make a decision.
Well, he's got till the first of the year is what it boils down to.
Okay, whether we tell him today or we tell him on December meeting or whatever, okay. So right now, he doesn't know that.
Well, this motion would give him the clue that
This is
something's
the
gonna
clue.
change January 1st.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to make
Yeah,
sure.
no,
With
yeah,
no uncertain terms, he understands that there will be an end time to this. Okay, I mean, and I love him. He's a great guy.
well, and that's the hard part, is that we've had, you know, worked.
But we have to move forward, okay? And he's got to think about what he's got to do for his family. He's got to think about his family. The guy's got to think about who's our new commander. And we can only go so far with carrying somebody, okay? All of us have that position, whether it's family or business. So if he's aware of the fact that ultimately something's gonna happen. And there's no slot open for him here. Then he knows that he's gotta find a position somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hard, when you make that move and you're committed to finding another job as chief somewhere, which he's said he's committed to.
But how long has it been since we heard about the Wixom failure?
Well, that was July.
4 months.
So it's been 4 months of searching, I would say, assume, okay,
Right.
and he's gotta find something.
And that's a very
And
good way
I'm
to
not
put
gonna
it.
say, I love you, he's a great man, okay?
That's a-
We
that's
have
a-
to make decisions board to move forward, okay?
You might have already answered the question, but do we know for sure that he doesn't have any options? Has he been on an interview since then, or, no, okay, so nothing.
So when we were in closed session last time, it was under the
Employee evaluation.
evaluation. Can we evaluate again? And have a conversation with him? Because our bad for not putting time limit on at that point, I guess.
We weren't allowed to discuss that.
Well, we were not.
Nope. That's why, that's kind of
My
why. this-
Is that
understanding
my
was,
question, I think?
Yeah, and you were, no, can't talk about that. And so what it boiled down to is that we've just been pushing this thing down the road.
my understanding was,
Because it's that kind of at a board level, how do you talk about this? Well, this is how you talk about it. have to talk about it openly. And it's difficult, and I think the thing that we all agree on, I know that Gary, at one time I asked him, about when the chief had made that decision, he felt that things had changed and the chief had done a great job, and I think that there's a lot of the other, many of them, and maybe not all, but a good majority of the firefighters have really enjoyed his, the changes and the things that have come, that the chief has done. And I can only give him kudos on all the stuff that he's done.
So if he wants to stay here, he steps down to another position, which may mean he'd have to join the union or whatever to be in, if we have a slot. Do we have a slot for him?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be the captain spot would be available and then normally, we'd go for that one.
Well, it's
So saying there is ways to create more positions than the union, you have to reopen the contract negotiation for adding it for that type of purpose. That just takes conversation between the union president.
that was a reduction in salary, obviously.
Yeah, however you guys, however, set up. Yeah, if you created another position, it wouldn't be equal to the, normal chief position.
Well, it needs to be a position that is functional and isn't just to
Right, it's got.
hold
It's
them
not
in,
just, it's not
Gonna be
there
certain-
to appease anybody, no, it's.
right.
Without creating any accountability, it already has to be an established position already, so you would have to go to a captain position or a firefighter position, something that's already in contract, otherwise if it makes it, we gotta open the contract, and it doesn't just open that whole tiny part of the contract, that opens the
The whole contract.
And
That's why we're dealing with an existing contract that's already been
Right.
completed.
That
Okay.
contract, no.
So that's not really a good option.
The secretary aspect, administrative assistant, whatever you want to call it. That is a non-union position. It's not, as long as they're not firefighting and providing calls and things like that, the administrative part of that is non-union.
What part was that?
The administrative assistant
Oh,
or a secretary or.
do we have one now
We do
No.
We have an open position. It is.
Oh,
in the department?
Yep.
right.
Position where.
So that probably would then be at a reduced salary, I would assume.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so the options are,
Right.
here's the deadline. If you need to continue earning something, there's an administrative position at X salary.
I mean, that, and I also think that we just start having talks tomorrow with him to have him,
Then we have another position there's
Oh.
kind of an empty.
So
position.
an example is that clerical or administrative position, that's what Jessica was.
Yeah, Jessica was part-time.
16,000.
So that's a $17,000 part-time salary.
but
That's all we budgeted.
And-
It all changed.
I don't think we have it budgeted for this year,
No administration.
right? He left it out.
oh, that's right.
So I guess what it boils down to is,
So it's a matter of saying, it looks like
Right.
at the end of the year, we're done. If we have an escape possibility, give you some revenue at taking this temporary assistant position. I don't know.
Yeah, I know the biggest thing for him right now is his family insurance for his kids and his like.
his insurance, you
His
said?
insurance, that's the biggest thing, without that, yeah.
So I just want to say I'm not inclined to support this motion. I don't think that it's fully thought through. We didn't have any information presented to us ahead of the meeting to consider it,
When did
other
this
than
motion-
just the discussion
When
here.
did this motion pop up today?
Yeah, it was just added to the agenda at the table here.
Well, then I would say let's revisit the motion and make
I
sure
think
we're
we need
clear,
some kind of
crystal
a
clear
proposal and.
on what we're doing.
Right, what we're doing and where the money's coming from. And I
Okay,
mean,
let me-
personally, can
go
I
ahead,
just
yeah.
personally state that I don't think that interviewing somewhere else is a reason to throw someone out on their ear with an arbitrary deadline. I think any employee that we have at the township could be gone any day. It's very common for people to interview elsewhere. It doesn't mean they're not good employees or that they're not desirable to have here. I think in the service of, municipal employees, it's not uncommon to interview for a potential opening and then have to wait some time for that opening to materialize. And I don't have a problem with waiting until we have an actual opening and not an arbitrarily created one. That's my thoughts.
Are you saying you would be more in favor of letting him continue to search for a position? And keep him on as chief?
That's my thoughts.
I
Right.
totally misunderstood what we did. I thought we were like making a vote of intention that Nick would be chief and was training for chief so that there would be a succession plan in place. I did not realize that the understanding for Nick was that he would be chief,
Well, there hasn't been any vote.
right?
That's what we're doing. And it's not to vote on him to be a trainee. It's what happened was the current chief set this up. He set it in motion.
He set it in motion, but we never
Well,
accepted his resignation.
We went through the process, but we didn't, and whether we accepted his resignation is irrelevant because to me, and this is the reason. We're not asking him to leave. I'm not saying he's gonna leave. I'm saying that as of January 1st, this man over here is the chief. Now, what Ken does after that, he's no longer chief. It's his responsibility to either take another position within the fire department at a different pay scale, or to move on like he intended to do. He would have been gone.
Okay.
And we'd have been looking, we would have had a chief. And I'm saying, why are we postponing what he's going to do? It's that kick him in the butt and say, you gotta move. He's had since July to be looking for other positions, whether they come to fruition at this point in time. That's not our responsibility. But he will leave, and he'll leave as soon as he finds a job. And then we're gonna be in a position where we need a chief. And instead of waiting to find out when he can get a job and be ready to leave, knowing that he's gonna leave, make a new chief. And that's exactly the whole idea behind having the interviews, having the in-house, go through the in-house. We did all of the stuff that the chief asked for. He went to his team and said on a Sunday, I believe it was, that I'm going to be working in Wixom and we're gonna have hire from in the house. And I want applicants by X date, and everything went that way. And then, it didn't happen. That's not our fault. Did the chief make a mistake in doing that? Yeah, sure, it's a mistake. But at the other end of it is, he flat out said he would be here 5 years and he's moving on. And he's done everything he said, except that it took him a year longer. All of the things that are in place are all of the things he said he would do. We have new fire halls. We've changed the dynamics of the fire department. He accomplished his goals. He felt satisfied with that. He was ready to move on. So this is just one of those scenarios where, sorry, but we have to, as a group, have to make a decision to think of long-term. And that long-term is, who's the next chief? And we should make that decision so that it can happen by the first of the year, or it's very likely we'll be searching for another chief and he finds another job. And now we're back in the same conundrum.
I totally appreciate the discussion. I really do. But my personal opinion is I would hope that we would at least wait a month and come back with some kind of a solid proposal. And maybe the discussion is directing that proposal.
Well, see, here's the difference is this is not talking about what the chief's gonna do.
No, let's talk about what we're gonna do.
Well, the motion is to put the person who was,
I'd at least like a month to think that through.
This question, so, what, I'm just curious about his contract with us. Is there anything in it that would prevent, I mean, if you're going to terminate an employee in any way, shape, or form, if it's not a mutual agreement, is there anything that we've signed in this contract that states that? I mean, this would be a real determination on our part. So what would we use legally if he's performed
He's an
satisfactorily?
at-will employee.
Oh, okay, so that's the at-will form.
He's an at-will employee.
Got it.
Is he just under the employee?
Yeah, we don't have contracts
Okay.
except for with our union employees.
And I know it sounds harsh. I mean, you guys are trying to, I've been
I just wanna
dingling on
think
this
about it,
because
like-
I don't feel comfortable trying to say, chief, it's time to leave. But the reality is, it's time to leave. He's made a decision. He was gonna leave. It didn't happen. It's time to leave.
I believe we need to give them a destination, saying this is your time. Okay,
But we don't need to do that tonight.
well, how are we gonna do this?
So how we're gonna do it is, we're gonna say, the motion was to approve the promotion of Nicholas George to fire chief beginning on 1/1/23.
So if this promotion went to 2/1/23, is that a congratulations, what we said?
No, I think that you started at the beginning of the year, started at the beginning of the year,
Okay,
and then the chief has. Then we can sit down and say, okay, how do we want to deal with this? How do you want to deal with the chief?
well, I believe.
And what I'm gonna say on that one is,
The first, I'm agreeing with that, I'm not saying we'll change it, but we need to give Ken a time limit. Here's your time. Okay, if you wait, you're just shortening time for him to react. Why,
I don't disagree.
why do we want to wait a month and then say, you're done, or you're gonna take a lesser job?
I would say it'll be 6 months, because he knew he was gonna leave in July. He said 6 months. He knows, we went through this process, he was part of the process. He knows it's been 6 months, and it's not that he's probably looking, I'm sure he's looking.
Yeah, I would hope he'd be looking at, so it's, then the decision is that we're gonna put the new chief in position on January 1st. The existing chief, Ken, needs to make a decision. He takes a lesser position, less money. If he wants to stay on Highland until he finds another position, that's up to him. As long as we have a place for him, I assume he could work within the existing department. Somehow.
He's been working, what position was, I mean, based on the position of what you guys wanted.
I mean, other than the fact he might feel awkward, taking less, but that's the only thing I could see here. I mean, it's time.
They wouldn't have to be posted. If you moved up the chief.
Yeah, we told them to do
You
it.
have to post the captain's position and do interviews and talk about that.
But the other side, the other half of it is disposition of the current chief. That's not a decision we have to make tonight. That's what you want to put off, is figuring out what to do with the current chief. This is not figuring out what to do with the current chief. This is, what are we gonna do with the chiefs that we've determined as a group, as,
All right, so I would suggest we table the decision on the date that the new chief will start. And you need to have a meeting with Ken and say, here's what's going on now. We are considering installing the new chief on January 1st. And we're gonna make that decision in our next meeting.
That was my next question.
Okay, so this is your more formal notice that you've got to get something going for your family and whatever. Because this is not going to continue. We don't have another spot.
I don't, whatever. I personally, I'm just trying to get the ball rolling,
I
because the
understand.
next meeting, January 1st, is less than 30 days.
So, well, okay, I understand that.
So you make that decision tonight that he's chief, he now has 50
Time
days,
to get started.
because it's gonna be pretty darn clear that he's not gonna be chief on the 1st.
Understand.
And he, to be honest with you, he shouldn't be, because we've gone through this process. We've introduced the individual who won the opportunity from in-house to be selected as chief. And now is the opportunity to say, do you want him to be chief or do you not? That's the only question that this is. This is not about what do we do with the old chief?
Understand. Okay,
It's about
so
what do we do moving forward?
one more round.
Yes. Beth?
Sorry, I'm sorry. I don't want to just.
No, you're
hitting
doing
it
good.
first, but I agree with everything you said, but I'm just a little uncomfortable with the reason behind it? I mean, I'm involved in employee hiring and terminations, and we have to be extremely careful. Even our employees sign at-work forms. We have to be careful as to the reason for terminations. And I just would feel comfortable maybe if Lisa just was kind of involved in the ultimate decision, because I don't want to do something that could get us legally involved in the future, because we have to have, we have to have all our i's and t's dotted, and we have to give the employee a chance to improve. It's usually a termination based on performance. I've never been involved in just a termination because I thought an employee wanted to leave. We have employees that interview for other jobs all the time, and we're aware they're looking, but we can't say, well, okay, let's part ways because of that. I just want to just throw that out.
We never responded to either the resignation or the rescinding of the
Yeah,
resignation.
that's what I think we need.
And because we did that, we basically screwed ourselves from that point of view. We didn't respond to either. We just kind of let it slide and let him slide back into his position. Because we felt it was, how nobody wanted to deal with, nobody really know how to deal with us. The chief has had plenty of conversations. I'm pretty darn sure that the rest of the firefighters know that Nick is next in line. And like I said, he's gonna go find a job. He has a retirement from a previous position. It's not like he's totally out of money. That's not our responsibility. It's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to the community for the long haul. Who's going to manage our fire team? If we keep on playing a game with this, we're going to take and potentially disrupt the quality of the team that we have now, because they want to know what's going to happen.
Well, we also don't want to set a standard, and every time someone is maybe thinking about leaving, well, maybe we'll dance along for another month or 2 months, 3 months. You can't do that. You've got people that are always looking for a job. When it's time for them to get the job, they're gonna leave.
Matthew brought up a very good point, and
really
I
good
don't know without legal counsel. So what if we approved this motion tonight? Can you unapprove the motion later on? Do you have a motion?
We can't do that.
What about a
We-
special
we
board
make a
meeting?
motion saying,
Yeah.
chief, you can't say not to.
With
There's
legal
other
counsel.
options you can do with the position. Just because it's pain to create a position inside the department, it's easier at the township level. It just all depends on where you want to get. The funding of it is the where we're going to be, the issue we're in.
Right, well,
Either we create positions in the fire department, we work along with the township or with the union, or a non for an administrative type position, which doesn't like fire anymore. There's lots of options for still people. It's just having the funding for it, the biggest issue.
I would be careful of the precedents you're setting though.
Say that again.
Absolutely.
But I'd be careful of the precedents you're setting. You're setting a precedence that you openly said you were going to leave. You presented a letter of resignation. You rescinded the letter. Somebody's been appointed to the position, and now you're saying, well, I'm gonna leave when I have another. He might not. He's got tons of certs. He's super intelligent. He's done astronomical things here, things that nobody ever thought would ever be done with this department. This department is completely different than it was when he first got here. It's amazing transformation. If anybody knows anything about what he's done here, they're gonna take him. In fact, I was blown away when I heard he didn't end up getting Wixom. Wixom is one of those departments that's 2, 3, 4 towns before they get anybody on the road. Their department is really in shambles. And I was blown away what they said when he didn't get hired. The precedence that you're setting is that you can leave, you can essentially resign, rescind your letter, and we'll let you stay here until you find something else. Because
That's exactly what we did.
Rick says we screwed up. Maybe you did screw up. Maybe he screwed up. The point is why are we gonna put somebody else on hold? Because now we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do with the current chief because we made a mistake or he made a mistake. The fact of the matter is the job was posted, it was awarded to somebody else. So now this guy's over here blowing the wind going, what's gonna happen? The rest of the department's like, is he gonna take over, or is the chief gonna stay? There's a lot of beta going on. Nobody knows what's going on. I think like Rick said, we don't know what's going on and we just wanna know. And it's nothing personal. I don't want to boot chief out. I know he's got a family and everybody likes him, to my knowledge.
Yeah. So,
So it's a little bit of a personal struggle, I feel like too, like you feel bad, like I wanna just boot him. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is, we have a guy that's qualified, that's ready to step in. And he's just getting kind of drug along right now.
Well-
Ken's gonna find another job, you guys got loads of talent.
It's just if right now, he's looking for the job where he can stay where he's at, live where
Right.
he's at. And that's, so he's zeroing in on something that may not be available to him, It's like the sheriff's office there, you start out new, you're gonna work in the jail. I don't have a choice, you're gonna work in the jail. In this case, he's taken the route that I'm looking for, that perfect scenario where I don't have to move and take my kid out of school. That's fine, but I think that if the board wants to somehow, hold him, hold a spot for him or hold his wages for him or whatever, the board can do that. You're gonna have to find a way to do it. I'm not even talking about that part. I'm talking about, we need to make a decision. Do we hire this gentleman?
oh, we promote this gentleman, not hire him.
Promote him, hire him as chief, promote him to chief. Through the process that we would normally follow, which is the interview process, we ask to do it from within. Do we do it or do we not? And if we keep postponing it, it doesn't put a good taste in the mouth of the rest of the fire department. I hate to use the term, but shit or get off the pot. That's where we're at right now. And the chief, we could put him in the township offices and put him in, or make him do some kind of ordinance stuff if he wants to, and you can pay him whatever you want to pay him. I think that the opportunity is give him till he's had 6 months, well, I've had 6 months when he's known that this whole process was happening to be able to find something. He hasn't, so 6 months is up and his pay is over at, December 31st, and he moves on, but that's not what the question is right now. We're not talking about that. That's a
Yes, so-
separate section, separate thing. And that's something we could come back in December and say, okay, are we going to allow for more time or are we going
So we
to?
can make two separate things. We can say tonight, we're gonna appoint him on January 1st.
Right,
We're gonna have another discussion to see if we can find a way to implement some temporary solution for,
to help him.
is that
Whatever.
reasonable?
I think we need more work on this issue. I think lawyer needs to be discussed or
I like-
consulted.
All subject to legal counsel.
And I think a plan should be put in place on what you're doing completely all around. I don't think you promote someone while you still have someone in a position. That's my feeling. And we can have a special meeting in a couple weeks if you don't wanna wait till the December board meeting.
I'm thinking we waited this long, wait another week or so, 2 weeks, whatever. And go for it.
What were your expectations of starting as the chief? Did you have any expectation?
Well, the original expectation was going to start 4 months ago.
Okay.
He had the Wixom job and
So that was your
applied for the
understanding.
position.
I mean, I
It
didn't
was
get,
supposed to be a done deal. They told him,
April.
they told,
August.
August, that he would start, or no, maybe before that.
So I would suggest that we contact legal counsel immediately and let them know exactly where we're standing. So there's no more delays for our pending chief. There's no more concerns with the fire department, okay? And there's a final solution.
Are you calling her right now?
We gotta make a decision. I
I'm
think
gonna text her.
this more tonight is not gonna
You
help.
said there was a question, text her.
Yeah, but she's gonna refer it to Laura and Spiegler.
If I was looking for a fire department to be a chief in this area. How many fire departments are in this area? Somebody tell me that.
Well, here's,
Okay.
here's,
If I want to keep my kids in school. Which is a goal, how many fire departments, if I want to be the chief, are in this area?
Yeah.
It's right here.
There's
Well,
quite a lot of
Milford-
reasons, yeah.
Milford,
Milford White, no,
So-
Milford White Lake.
White Lake.
I don't think we're as much as
Oh,
concerned.
is there six?
We got
Oh, no. there's
another
not.
job.
Yeah,
So-
we're not gonna find-
Okay, so let
I'm
me ask you a question. You want to defer? Okay,
So keeping his children in school, in what school?
you're on down.
You're on Bell. So somewhere in Oakland County, then that would be something that would keep his kids in school. So how many fire departments are there?
Yeah.
10?
More than
Like 40.
So how many would have, we possibly would have applied for in all this time?
that. Yeah, the thing is, a lot of them don't have, the chief is not normally in
Open
a
position.
full position for
Yeah,
all the time.
so-
Only hire
So
full-time.
he should have expended all the possible efforts to get any possible opening by now.
Yeah, anything that's. open
That's
to
all I'm
everyone.
trying to, I'm just trying to establish how long do you keep going to the door, knocking on the door of a fire department? To see if there's an opening.
For this area, it's a holding. I mean, it's a wait until the next file.
Yeah, okay.
If you want to teach.
I'm trying to understand that
No,
mechanism.
no, the more questions I can try to answer, the better, the more understanding. The legal counsel aspect of it is that's very true.
So we want to make sure we're fair to everybody. And not cause him any distress, but it's got to get finished.
Okay, so if you recall, several months ago, we had a closed session meeting. And Lisa, actually, it was
The other way.
Oh, Laura was there.
Laura
Oh, no,
Amsby.
Amy.
Laura Amsby.
Laura there?
Mhm.
Fully aware of what we're talking about. Fully aware that we had, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. But couldn't talk about it in closed session in terms of him keeping his job, or we could only do it as an evaluation. If we didn't like him, then we could let him go. We could have done it at that point in time if we wanted to, but everybody liked the chief. He did a great job. Okay, you got an evaluation. But the key is that we're trying to figure out, how do we deal with this? So the way we dealt with it was, I don't know, let's let him just be chief for a while longer. Fully aware,
I don't
The-
know about that.
well, I don't know why you weren't
What?
aware that we were going through the process, Brian, and we were all involved in this thing of talking about.
But
how
we
to
didn't
interview
do the
chief.
actual interviews until after his resignation was retracted.
Right.
It wasn't retracted.
Yes, it was.
We never acknowledged any of it at the board level.
Well, that scares me, that this. I
We
mean,
never
that part I
acknowledged
don't
it.
know what legally.
So can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Typically, when fire departments hire, they will put, we're hiring for lieutenant, we're hiring for firefighter, we're creating a list. So when they put that they're creating a list, essentially you are being interviewed and ranked 1 through 25 or however many of them apply. And that's a hiring list. That doesn't mean you're gonna be hired tomorrow or next month. You might not even be hired.
Right.
Most of the fire departments will keep that list for a year and then they'll repeat the process. So if the intention was to find a chief when Ken leaves, that should have been in the job posting. We're creating a list to establish a chief, for when the current chief leaves, not we're hiring a fire chief and now you gotta wait until he gets another job. And I think that's a legal thing for Nick. You might want to look into that too, because, the job's been publicly given to him, been in the paper. Whether that was the intention or not, it's in the paper. People have congratulated him on getting the job in other departments. And, I don't even know what he tells them, but he probably just said, oh, thank you, but the fact is, you're not the chief. It's been made public that you are the chief, and.
Well, nobody's the chief until the ward votes that they're the chief.
Right, I understand. I'm just saying, when you're talking legal ramifications from Ken, what about Nick? Are there, and I don't know, I'm not an attorney by any means. Are there legal ramifications for Nick too?
Well, here's how we can do this. There's a motion on the table. Like I said, this has nothing to do with the current chief, zero. Because in and this is from my personal perspective, he's the one that set the tone that this is what we're gonna do. He was involved in the interview process. He knows exactly what's happening. I mean, he was there, right, Nick? The chief was there. I mean, he was the one that put the questions together. He knows exactly what's going on. And it's, to me, it's inappropriate to put somebody through that process and saying, looks like you'll get the job. Looks like is pretty much like, it looks like Ken was gonna get the one in Wixom. Now, do we do to Nick what Wixom did to Ken?
Right,
I think that's inappropriate in a huge way, because the reality is Ken had full expectation that he's looking for another job. He's looking now, he's looking for another job. Because he knows that Nick is the person that has been kind of blessed, not only from in-house, because he's got the qualifications to do it, but because he went through the interview process and he was a successful candidate. In-house, we chose, I think we verbalized it, we didn't choose it by a decision at the board to only hire from in-house, but it was pretty much, I think, a board agreement that we're gonna keep it in-house this time.
well,
Was it posted that way?
let me finish, please.
I don't know how to get rid of it, they're not for us.
Look, so the fact that it's always a good idea to promote from within. What does that leave all these other fire departments from having him say, well, I'd like to work at your fire department? And don't hire from within their part, they're probably all trying to hire from within, I would think.
If they, normally they have a set process, we can set that process.
Is that more predominant, hiring from
Yeah,
within?
unless you don't have been, well, it depends on some departments for like chief aspect, they don't ever.
No,
Some communities, it's your guys' problem on that.
yeah, we hire from within.
Always, yeah, some will always go within. Depending, it depends on the size of the department, type that you have. If you have strictly a pay on call department, we've got full-time jobs. They're not set up for it, and they might hire, they might always hire from the outside.
Yeah.
It all depends on the situation,
Circumstance.
it depends on the situation at the department at the time when we get there.
Okay,
Like right now, we went internally, because Chief Chapman thought we had enough internal cabinets to take over the position that we didn't need to go outside.
okay,
Open it up.
all right, thank you. All right, that answers my question.
Okay, so. I'm the one that put the motion forward. Of course. I feel very strongly that we need to move forward with the process that we started. And I can't say that it's legal, illegal, or what, but I think that we could easily have another board meeting and beat this to death some more. Which is,
With legal counsel.
and have the attorney here.
They're here.
So this is the process you do to get everything out on the table. That's what you have to do. That's what discussions do. So it doesn't mean we have to, I mean, we can have a vote and move forward and it gets voted in. And then you might have some disgruntled board members that don't feel comfortable with it. Or we could retract the motion and have a special board meeting and get an attorney there and move forward that way. So rather than, I think we have a board that is, I would rather see us be unanimous on this type of thing because that creates negativity all the way down the line. So I'm going to withdraw my motion. And I'm going to propose that we have a special board meeting. Let's look at the calendar.
No longer than 2 weeks.
Oh, we can check.
I'm gonna say that we do it on the 21st of November, which is next
Is that
Monday.
Monday,
And we get some answers from our attorney that we, what direction is the correct legal way to do it.
Here on the 21st. I
What's
got a
that?
game, I got a 6 o'clock game on the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, I.
What time are your games over?
It depends, it's at Milford High School, depends on when it starts. I believe by 7:30, I don't,
then we can make an 8 o'clock meeting.
whatever you want to do, I'm just saying, I have a tough time.
We
Because
need
that's
to, we
at
need to
6 o'clock.
move forward.
Oh, I agree with you.
So let's do it at 8 o'clock. On the 21st,
It's a Monday.
Monday. Next Monday, 8 o'clock.
We need to be clear and concise for the new chief. And we need to be clear and concise for Ken. Ken, it's not just been 2 weeks. We've had a lot of time to do this. We need to get legal counsel, make sure what we're gonna tell you or suggest to you is still within our boundary as a township. If there is another chance for him to do something else, that's all great, but let's get it clean so that he has direction and all the firefighters have direction. Okay, that's important.
Keep that, it'll be here.
And so you're good, You'll wait another week to see what sorts out here. Okay.
So 8 o'clock. November 21st. And we'll do it here because we may have more people and it's a public meeting.
Right.
We'll have the attorney. I'm sure she can, though Monday nights are not good. for
Yeah, I
her.
know. I don't know that she
Wait.
can.
It's the second Monday where but we want Laura anyways, instead of, Lisa doesn't really handle
Right.
employment matters.
Schedule with the attorney who handles
Human resources.
employee labor problems.
Well, and does it have to be on Monday? Your game's always on?
No, it doesn't have to be a Monday. I mean, that's fine. We can do.
What day's better?
So check with Laura and then, but you want to publicly announce when the next. meeting?
Well, we'll aim for the 21st, and if the lawyer can't make that one, then
I'll talk to Laura
have to come up with
and
a plan.
get her to
Okay.
approve a date.
My 28th is wide open, so. That's 2 weeks later, but still,
Right.
because next week we're into Thanksgiving week.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to withdraw my motion. Who seconded it?
I don't know.
Did I?
Brian.
So Brian, you want
I withdraw my second.
to, okay, so on that, we'll call it quits on that conversation of, but like I said, that's how you get the stuff out on the table, is you have to discuss it.
It's gotta be crystal clear in this case. It's gotta be no more.
Yep.
days. Okay,
All right,
well, good.
all good.
Works, yeah,
Then in that case,
I
thank
have a
you,
question real quick.
appreciate it.
yes,
Township offices will be closed. I'm confused here. Christmas Day is the 25th and it says Christmas Eve is the 26th.
I think they're just keeping it in line with the format. So you're allowed to have a Christmas Eve and a Christmas
Oh,
Day off.
okay, I was
And
confused.
instead of taking Friday,
Gotcha. Okay.
but I also have a question about that too, for 4th of July, it's Tuesday the 4th that we have off. Any chance we can give up New Year's Eve, like January 2nd
You know,
and have
I
Monday?
always wonder why we don't give up like President's Day or something.
Oh, yeah.
And like do a connecting to 4th
Mhm.
of July.
Or
I
just
mean-
add a floating, where, whichever holiday it works with that year.
Yeah, I mean, the board can do whatever we want on this issue. I don't
We are-
particularly care if I work.
I
President's Day
know,
or
I
not.
didn't realize it was in the consent, I would have said something.
Well, we can still revise it.
Okay, and then, so yeah,
Now we can make that clear. I just think if anybody looks at it, they're gonna go, wait a minute, somebody really messed up here. I understand now what.
so
it
at the
means.
bottom, Christmas Day is December
It
25th.
says Christmas Eve,
Even
26th.
26.
Oh, it's just mixed. So
24th,
Eve,
24th.
No,
Well, I think they were
Oh.
saying that was in place of
right,
Christmas Eve.
because it's on the weekend.
Yeah,
And so they just moved it forward.
okay,
So
I'm
when the
just saying,
holiday
this
falls,
looks,
it'll be
you're reading,
It
this looks
does.
confusing.
it's gonna make us.
right.
Look.
okay. So on that note. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much. That was a good conversation.